What is going on, friends? Sean Don coming back with a technical analysis. Here we have Tony Zajac, Division III North Central thrower. He was very stoked in his messages he sent me, sending me this video. Said after the last video I did of him for his technical analysis, he made hella progress. I think he PR'd by over 3 meters, and he was the first person from North Central to All-American in the hammer throw in quite some time, through 57 meters, which is pretty solid. So here's him this off season. He said this is pretty close to 60 meters, and he's got some big goals in the future. You know, maybe make a run at the D3 record of 70 meters. So a lot of work to do, man. Yeah. So if you yourself are watching this video and you want to have the same sort of experience as Tony, setting big PRs, seeing big improvements in your technique, then go to my website, gripandrip.co, and sign up for an in-depth technical analysis, or sign up, better yet, is the real thing you need to do is sign up for some throws coaching or a technical membership, something like that, so you can get more repetitive, more frequent coaching input from your boy. Because, you know, these videos are nice and they really go in-depth and break down all of your issues, but that constant repetitive reminder of what you need to do and how to fix it, as well as just having different conversations with me about these issues and understanding how the throw works, I think really goes a long way. So enough yammering. Let's take a look at Tony's throw. Already took a look at this, and it's pretty solid. So he has the issue of pulling still, especially as the ball starts to pick up speed. So through entry, yeah, the thing I see right now, just looking at the video, is in 3-4, you're getting kind of pulled around the left, sort of lacking stability, too much weight around the left side. So we'll talk about what that means later on. But so starting the throw, I assume centered, off to the right, bring the ball forwards. Not bad. Maybe coming a little bit too far to the left of the hands. Could bring the hands a little bit more like straight in the direction of, you know, 270. As you can see from right here, you bring your hands across the body just a little bit, you know, from right to left. And then the hands, like I said, come a little bit too far to the left. If you keep your winds a little bit more right-sided, it might help you find better connection and tension in the throw. But the first wind, preliminary swing, not even a big issue right now, just food for thought. As you open up, you're opening up the shoulders well, combing your hair, connecting pretty well back at 180. Then going into the second wind, hands a little low, not a big issue for this first wind. Once again, it's kind of natural, relaxed, that's totally fine. Hands come forwards, arms pretty relaxed. Looks like you have pretty good balance between right side and left side so far. Then you can see the ball come forwards now into the second wind through 0. As soon as the ball starts to hit 0, as it happens, you can start to see you start to kind of open up and reach back towards 270 or face 270 with your shoulders. So as you go through 0, like I said, right about here, you could start thinking about opening up those shoulders a little bit earlier. You kind of pause just for a little bit. This is really splitting hairs, but it might help just a little bit. Once again, a little bit more right-sided in the winds. And then as you go into second wind, opening up, facing 270, at least with the shoulders, head's kind of looking, you know, in the direction of, let's say, 315-ish. And then you're connecting pretty well. But yeah, I think your head kind of peaking kind of causes a little bit of left side tension, kind of setting up that pulling with, like, so right now, like I said, right here, you can start to see that head peak just a little tiny bit, where like if you had your focal point like maybe a little bit more towards 270 or somewhere in between 270 and 315, you know, 300, 290, 295-ish, you know, it might help. And then the other thing that I think might help is just being a little bit more chill and a little bit more patient, trying to feel more of the right side push from, let's say, 180 through 270. So if you can feel your right arm, right hand, right side, kind of start to push the ball from, you know, like right about here and then off to your right because I think this is kind of where things start to go a little bit wrong, or you're just kind of setting up things a little bit wrong, and that leads to issues later on where you can see as you come through this second wind into entry, you're really setting up this left side. And you're doing a pretty good job of it, but it's almost too much, where it's almost so much left side and not so much right side. You got to have more right side connection over here on your winds and entry, and then you have to be more patient and chill in your entry, where like you're setting up this left side almost too aggressively, where you're ahead of the ball, you're kind of leading the ball so much, and then it's once you do that, it's kind of hard to let the ball continue on in its natural orbit. And alarm going off, but yeah, just setting up that left side a little bit too aggressively, and then it's hard to like really connect, because what happens is like this body's doing a whole bunch right here, and then you finally hit this point right here, and you're like, all right, let's chill, let's let the ball pass and be patient. And then as that happens, it's like the body kind of shuts off, and you're not really doing enough. So you set up the ball movement with a lot of body, then you let the ball move, and then it's like you kind of stop moving the body. So it's like a bunch of body, not enough ball, then a bunch of ball, not enough body. So that's kind of what happens here. You can see as the ball goes left, like you set up stability very good early on, like right about here, but then as the ball actually goes through zero, you can see you start to lack a little bit of stability, you start to shift back and pull back just a little tiny bit as the ball goes through zero. And then as that happens, you can see your hips, torso, kind of like shifting back, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just not ideal. I think I'd like to see a little bit more stability as the ball passes this point right here. And then from there, and it's like you can see the ball goes left, and that right hip, right leg, right side of the body isn't really quite connected, at least more like that lower right quadrant. So I'm speaking mostly right hip and right leg. Ball goes left, and then that right side's just a little bit behind. Like at this point right here, your head's back behind where your arm triangle is, where the ball is. You're looking back towards like 90, which is good. But then your right leg is also very far behind as well. So your right side's not quite connected. And like going into this part of the throw right here in single support, this isn't bad, but at this point I'd like to see that right side already kind of almost stepping through. Where like when you go to catch, like it's not bad, but I just think a little bit more right hip stability leads to a little bit better left side stability. And then if that right side stability is a little bit better, that means that right side's going to be more connected as the ball goes around the left. Then that means that right side's going to connect a little bit better and catch a little bit better in this next turn. Where like I look at this catch, and like in terms of where your feet are, it's not like a late catch. In terms of where the ball is, it's not like a late catch. But I just don't see a lot of tension in the body, not a lot of separation. You can see your hips are a little bit back away, your chest is a little bit forwards, and there's just not much separation in terms of upper lower body separation, like your hips are pointed towards this direction, and the ball is just maybe 10-15 degrees behind it. So not the most stable catch in terms of tension in the body. And also what would help a lot was just if you could just get your weight kind of more centered. Like I said, you're kind of already over that left side a ton in this catch. If you look at where your hips are, you want your hips to be kind of a little bit more centered in between. But as you go through this next turn, with those hips being a little bit back in that catch, you're going to get back on the hammer a little bit late, where like you can see you don't really get back on the hammer until probably about 30-45 after zero. So your pendulum motion's a little bit late, and that's because your hips aren't underneath you. You kind of need to settle back under your hips to hit the pendulum. And then with you catching, your hips being back, it's going to take a little bit of time to settle your hips under you. So then you hit the pendulum a little bit late, and then now you see this kind of lack of stability in this left side. So you see this left leg kind of straightening out, that left side kind of leading, pulling ahead. Your arms still look pretty relaxed. Your right side, but now you see this right knee. See how it kind of like drops down right here. It's very subtle. It comes down towards the ground, kind of forward towards the back of the ring, towards the camera-ish. That's a sign that you're kind of like your right side's not doing enough. You're not working back through that right side enough. It's kind of giving to the throw, to the ball. And so that left side's really doing all the work. That right leg, right hip really isn't doing as much as it needs to. But pretty solid single support, I mean, like like I said, your right side's a little bit behind again. That left side's a little bit ahead again. But like in terms of like your lower body posture, or I should say rather, like your knees are bent, and then that's kind of the big thing that I'm talking about right here. Is like your knee level is good. You're down in the legs. It's just your hips and your right side connection that kind of need to be worked on. But you catch, and same sort of thing here. Chest a little bit forwards, hips a little bit back. You get your hips a little bit more underneath you. Maybe get your knees a little bit more over your toes. You do catch a little bit deeper here. But then, because your hips aren't underneath you, you're lacking connection to the hips, you're going to pull that left side big time again. You see right here, left side pulling. So I think your pulling issue comes from mostly posture, your hips not being underneath you, posterior pelvic tilt. I have quite a few videos on YouTube talking about it. Because like I said, you get to this position right here, and you just don't quite have the tension and separation in the body and stability in the body, because as you go through double support, you pull this left side, that left leg straightens out a little bit more. This right side doesn't really work back because that left side's doing all the work. If that left side's working, the right side can't really work like it needs to. And they're decent, but then now you start to see, because of this lack of stability in single support, or sorry, in double support and single support, you start to see those hips kind of get pulled down and around and kind of sucked under around the left. And same sort of thing here, hips a little bit back, chest a little bit forwards, torso leaning forwards just a little tiny bit. And the same thing going into this final turn. Now you really start to see that left side pull. You see that left arm come across the body, that head start to lead. And then that right side kind of continues to disconnect. Doesn't really get much effort from that right leg or right hip. The left side pulls, straightens out. And then now you start to see this same sort of thing where if you watch the hips, they go and they get sucked down around the left. So they're kind of going in the opposite direction of the hammer. Ball's trying to go towards the sector, and your hips are like, now we're pulling back and down and away and going in the opposite direction, getting pulled around the left, kind of lacking stability. And now you have this weird catch position where like the ball's super high, but your hips are super low, and they're not really quite connected in the way that they need to be. So when you catch, once again, not a ton of tension and separation, and so that left side just kind of pulls. And I mean, like, you do hold the finish pretty well. You do kind of extend a little bit early through the legs, but compared to how the previous two turns looked, you did not pull that left side nearly as much as I would have anticipated. So like the finish is pretty decent. You let the ball kind of continue through. It's just turns 3 and 4, that left side's pulling a ton, and that comes just from lacking better posture and then also just right side connection. Those two kind of go hand in hand. If you have better posture, it's easier to feel the right side work, the right hip, the right leg work. If you lack posture, then the left side's almost certainly going to take over because the right side can't really work well. So hopefully that makes sense, Tony. If you have any questions, let me know. Best of luck in your future endeavors. I'm sure you'll, hit me up in the future for some coaching, which I would appreciate because, it's cool to see the progress you've made over the past, I think it's 6 months. So, yeah, if anybody else out there would like this same treatment, go to my website, gripandrip.com, and sign up for some sort of coaching. So, thank you for watching. Until next time, Sean Don signing off.